Greetings, Dr. Monica here. I am here just to talk about a conversation that I had with an individual that I met on LinkedIn. If you followed me or heard me speak, you have often heard me say that I delayed speaking or posting on LinkedIn, and my platforms of preference have been Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, only because those environments seem to be more receptive to connecting, and LinkedIn seems to be more on a professional level. However, I had about an hour and a half conversation with someone I had never spoken to before on LinkedIn on yesterday, and it was such a dynamic message. It was such a dynamic conversation that we had. First and foremost, she thanked me for speaking. She said how much she resonated with my message and how a lot of what I said, she just experienced. And it was very confirmational for me. And the reason why is because a lot of times we have sat in silence and suffered in silence as I have spoken. We all experience things in life, whether it's from our family wounds, our church wounds, workplace, marriage, divorce, but we want to pretend like everything's okay. And it's not. It's not okay. We've conformed. But one of the things that, if you've heard me speak and if you actually attended the T4 Summit or saw some of the marketing, when I did a survey, the top two areas of woundedness was church wounds and family wounds. But when I spoke to this particular individual on LinkedIn, she shared with me about growing up being Catholic, but now she practices Hinduism. And we talked about the wounds that our children have inflicted on us, and because of their decisions and their choices, and how that has impacted us. And one of the things you have to get to a point that I told her is sometimes you have to just let go. Because all of us have to experience some things in life for ourselves. And it's a choice to deal with toxicity and take people with you just because they're blood related. But some of those places and some of those people are the ones that wound you the most. And it becomes a choice. Now, for some people are more tolerant of certain people in certain wounded states. Some of us aren't. And whatever you choose, you have to be at peace. You have to be at peace with your choices and be true to yourself. Now, a lot of people will discredit and say what you should do and how you should respond. Be careful, because it's so important that you know what you're talking about. And there's a difference between knowing and believing and hearing and listening to other people. You may not have the full story. And just because you were brought up a certain way or taught some certain things doesn't mean it's accurate and doesn't mean it's true. Think about that. Things that we think, things that we were taught, just because we believe it doesn't mean it's true. And we don't know it. So I am in a place of dealing with things that I know. Because I'll say this, the things that I was taught growing up in Christianity, I don't see examples of it. I don't see the living examples of it that embraces those beliefs and those truths and those things that we claim to be true. I don't see the lived examples. I don't see the love. I don't see any of that. I don't see any of the reaching out, the caring. So it's more or less out of sight, out of mind. It's more or less, as long as your narrative doesn't rock my narrative, then I'm okay. Otherwise, you distance yourself. Be okay with that distance. Be okay with standing in your truths. Be okay with knowing what you know. Be okay with standing in your authenticity. You can't take everyone with you, and you don't want to. And let's talk about taking others with us. Like I said, I grew up in Christianity, and I'm just in a place of questioning so many things. If those who I know, who I've attended church with, who supposed to be my brother and sister in Christ, are demonstrating love, and we're all trying to get to this place called heaven, and based on what my experiences with them, I have to question, do I want to go to the same place that they claim to be going? Do I want to go to the same heaven and live happily ever after in this place with these people who aren't practicing what they're teaching? This is just my thoughts. These are my questions. So I'm wondering, do I want to be in the same place as these same people who have wounded me that call themselves Christians? Do I want to go to a place, and frankly, do I know that the place exists? So these are things that I have dealt with and are dealing with. And there's a whole community of us. But guess what? For those who are not comfortable with our stance, it's okay. It's okay. But let's start to embrace our differences. Let's look at things from various perspectives. A lot of people don't want to look at things from different perspectives. It's easier to stay stuck in your beliefs and where you are than to question and rock the boat. Why? Because then there's accountability. Most people do not want to be accountable. Most people want quick fixes. Most people want what they want at all costs and will go to those events. Most people will see things that are problematic, that are wrong, and stay silent, stay stuck. Why? Because it's more important for them to fit in and be accepted than to rock the boat. I'm not at that place, and so many of us aren't. And if you're not at that place either, I encourage you to live and let live. There are just some things that are not going to change. You know, even the Bible say the poor we will have with us always. There are some things that just are going to exist. Some things you can't pray away. However, we have to be careful with our beliefs and our thoughts and our teachings. That's just a little bit that I wanted to share, because if we are struggling in our personal lives, we're going to take those things and those woundedness into the workplace. And in the workplace, you're dealing with these issues of life. And quite frankly, some corporate America just don't care. They look at profit over people. People aren't important in many organizations. And you have to learn to switch your paradigm. Be your best. Operate in excellence. And you may have to shift from having expectations to requirements. When things don't meet your requirements, then you have to make an adjustment. Expectations are what other people do, and you have no control over. Your requirements are things that you control. So I encourage you to replace expectations with requirements. Why? Because that's for your own peace. That's for your own sanity, your own truth. And so you can navigate through this place in this area called life. So I just wanted to share that. And I thank that individual who reached out to me on LinkedIn, who had this conversation, who literally showed me that we are more alike regardless of our beliefs, regardless of our skin color, our genders. We all have emotions. We all have feelings. We all have baggage. And once we can embrace people's differences, not to judge their difference or get them to conform to our ways, I think we can have a more peaceful world. That's only if we are truly interested in peace, or are we interested in our way and the only way and getting what we want. Think about that. So, if you know, I am hosting the M4 Summit, Men, Message, Mission, and Movement. We're looking for men to speak their truths about their trials, their triumphs, and their truths, just like we did at the T4 Summit. However, the T4 Summit was for men and women speakers. We only are looking for the men speakers this time around. So, this is Dr. Monica, and I encourage you to have a triumphant day, have the best day, create your peace, live your peace, and enjoy this day to the fullest. Having an absolutely amazing day.